So let's understand why it is we need to be linking our strategy to organization design. So here's the issue. Strategy is naturally cross-functional. If we take the CEO, as we know, he or she is going to describe the strategy to us as a strategy model. And that strategy model is naturally cross-functional. Those objectives don't respect the organization chart. They talk about core objectives that the entire organization has to rally around. Now, we use that strategy map to take a look at core groups of processes to see how well they support each of the strategic objectives, and core strategic initiatives to see how they linked to those strategic objectives. Now, the dilemma, though, is the CEO, in order to run the organization, constructs organizational silos or departments whose job it is to focus in on specific processes. In other words, someone like operations, they're going to focus in on a process which cuts across all these strategic objectives. The dilemma is no one actually owns execution of each of these strategic objectives, which goes across multiple processes. And this is the dilemma, the management conundrum that leads to such a high failure rate of strategies. So our premise is this. The core concepts are: 1, we need to assume that the existing organization design is basically correct. The idea of having departments is kind of correct and actually not worth fine-tuning. Because what we also know is that the execution of strategy, what we really need to focus on, naturally is going to go across functional activities. Which means that the processes required to support any strategic objectives over time will change as the priorities for the strategic objectives change, or the performance required of processes change, or in fact, if the strategic objectives themselves change. In other words, this is fairly fluid, and the last thing we want to keep on doing is changing the organization chart every year or two as we fine-tune our strategy around economic and business environment needs. Therefore, we need to make sure that we build a fluid organization design, and we call those things teams or matrix organizations. So what we're going to focus on here is how to use the strategy model and the process and initiative reviews that you've done to power those teams or matrix organizations.